Good afternoon, Chaos. This is Hekalotos here, your friendly Legion's leader, with another review, this time of one of our longtime members, been here much longer than myself, a leader in our sister guild Legacy, who's always been there for all types of strategy and to help out anybody they can. This is Berniewan Kensanders. Bernie, like I said, has been around for a while here in Chaos. One of the first people that I remember seeing a lot in the forums. I say forums, I mean Slack. And always there for advice to help out others. And we see that he has a very strong arena team here with a Rex lead, Grand Admiral Thrawn, General Kenobi, R2-D2, and Darth Nihilus. But you might also notice that he has Nihilus only 6 stars, and Thrawn only 5 stars. So, to me that says Bernie may not spend a lot of money, but he stays focused on what he wants and what he needs. So for those of you that are free-to-play players or spend very little in the game, his is a nice roster to look at and see what good focus and farming can do for you, either gear or shards. Because Bernie's roster is fairly impressive, and you see his galactic power is getting close to 2 million. So this particular review could be good for any of those who want to know or want hope in knowing that free-to-play players can do a good job. So again, I don't know if he spends a little bit of money, but it's obvious from just those two characters he doesn't spend a ton, at the very least. So let's dive right in, see what he's got, and see if we can't provide another opinion for Bernie and helping him prepare for territory battles and get ready to increase his contribution to Legacy's Hoth expeditions. So we dive right in here and look. I did manage to just check it out a few minutes ago, and he does have a fair number of 7-star characters, a little over 80. But if you just look, there's a lot of them that are maybe Gear 4, Gear 5, Gear 6. They're spread all over the place as far as character levels go. So he might have a ton of 7-star characters, but that just is a natural side effect of having played the game for a while and knowing and focusing on where to get stuff. So just because there's that many 7 stars doesn't mean he spends a ton of money. The more telling aspect is the gear tiers. You see here that the Gear 11 characters is only 17, so Bernie probably doesn't spend much money, if any at all, on gear. It's just crystals that he wins in PvP, which for a while I believe Bernie was finishing top 10 on his shard in PvP, so he was getting a ton of crystals that way. And he probably will continue to do so. We see that Grand Admiral Thrawn is almost Gear 12, Kenobi is almost Gear 12, Rex is getting there, Nihilus is halfway to Gear 12, R2-D2 is one piece from Gear 12. So I'm guessing in the next few weeks, Bernie will get those guys to Gear 12 and be ready to go in Arena and competing at the very top levels again. But he didn't ask for a bunch of help in Arena because he obviously knows what he's doing. And whether or not he wants a second opinion, I'm not going to insult Bernie and say that I have a better idea, because Arena is not necessarily my focus. I'm more focused on the PvE aspect, raids, territory battles, and where's the strategy there. So I'm only going to provide what I am most knowledgeable in, and that is putting together some teams for territory battles, which means I'll be focusing primarily on the light side characters. So let's go ahead and zoom in on these light side guys and see what Bernie's got and see what we can help him put together. So Rebels are obviously going to be a big deal, so we'll look at those. Phoenix and Rogue One, both subsets of the Rebel faction, could use some work. And I'll look for some of the more popular light side teams, see if we can't put them together and help him out there. So I know that he has a 7-star Kenobi, which instantly catapults any Jedi team to the top of the possible damage dealers and stuff like that. So I'm going to first check out the Jedi that Bernie has and see if he's got a decent team that he can put together here. And we see we have a number of Jedi up at gear 9, 10, and 11. So there's some potential here. And Qui-Gon Jinn, you see him at the top, probably means, ooh, that's interesting, no Zeta on Qui-Gon Jinn. So that might change things just a tad. If Bernie would like to add a Zeta on Qui-Gon Jinn, he can put together a really, really fantastic Jedi team with just a little bit of work. But without that that Zeta, you might almost be better off with a General Kenobi lead for Jedi, because Kenobi gives Jedi a lot of health and a lot of defense, and the extra health really helps because in the territory battles, light side characters, I believe, if the platoons are filled correctly, can regenerate health every turn. So if that is the case, a General Kenobi lead could work better for Bernie here, with Qui-Gon Jinn as your main dispeller, Jedi Knight Anakin as one of your main damage dealers, and applying buff immunity and heal immunity. It's very useful. I would not put Ezra in your Jedi team just yet, because you'll find he's more useful in another place, which leaves a spot for maybe one more support and one damage dealer. Your support would come in the form of Grandmaster Yoda. Yoda is a fairly easy gear, so he can get to the gear level 10 or 11 fairly easily. Maybe put an Omega on Unstoppable Force, and then don't even worry about the Zeta on Battle Meditation and Grandmaster Guidance yet. So that leaves you General Kenobi lead, Qui-Gon Jinn, Jedi Anakin, and Grandmaster Yoda. And then you have two options as your 5th character, which will primarily be a damage dealer. With Jedi Knight Anakin, Ahsoka Tano is pretty strong. However, she is a pretty intense character to gear. You might find it'd be easier to use Aayla Secura, because her survivability is very high, especially if you pair her under a General Kenobi lead. But either one of those two options, Ahsoka Tano or Aayla Secura, would be a good addition to a Jedi team. So, again, for a third time, without a Zeta on Qui-Gon Jinn, General Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, Jedi Anakin, Grandmaster Yoda, along with either Aayla Secura or Ahsoka Tano, whichever one you want to gear. I believe you are much more familiar with gearing General Kenobi than I am. If you want to use Qui-Gon Jinn in PvE, he's probably best to use with speed, so that he can dispel often and use his Harmonious Assault to call an assist. And the speed is even more important if he gets a Zeta. The Jedi and Anakin, from what I've heard and what I use, he's best with 1 potency set, 1 health set, and 1 crit chance set, with a speed arrow, a crit chance triangle, and a potency cross. Just because the debuffs that he applies with deft blade work are pretty important, and especially in the territory battles, because there's so many taunts going along, you want to get that buff immunity to stick. Grandmaster Yoda would be your fastest character. Myself, I have 1 set of ultra fast speed mods that I move around, and that set always goes on Yoda when I use my Jedi. If you use Aayla Secura, I would give her all crit chance mods, because her stuns are super useful, and the stuns proc on critical chances. So whenever possible, get critical chance and give it to her. so that whenever she attacks, she's got a very good chance to crit, and that crit will stun people. If you use Ahsoka Tano instead, she is best. Well, first of all, you don't really want to use her until she gets to gear 11 because she's just so squishy. Super low health pool, no defense. And ideally, you want to mod her with 1 crit chance set and 1 crit damage set, with the mods on your right being speed, crit damage, and tenacity or health/protection. So that's a Jedi group I would recommend putting together. You have a couple very strong Rebel teams that you can put together here, because your Rebels have received a lot of love already. The first Rebel group I would recommend would be one that you're going to put your Hoth Rebel Soldier and Hoth Rebel Scout in when needed, and that group would consist of a Wedge Antilles lead, who I would also excuse me, mod 1 crit chance and 1 crit damage set. Pair him with his best friend Biggs Darklighter with some speed and crit chance sets. Stormtrooper Han, because this group is going to be very fast. And Han obviously will be modded mostly for speed and health. Possibly some tenacity as well. To go along with those, I would also include R2-D2, who it looks like you have modded for offense and health. Though I must say I'm a little surprised to see only 2 offense mods, since it requires 4 for the set bonus, but I'm sure you just have placeholders in there for them, or those just happen to be your highest speed mods, which is what it looks like. So there you go. You can keep with speed mods on him, but possibly experiment with a full offense set if you want to use him as a buff bot. Not saying it's necessary, just a recommendation to see how it works, because your Stormtrooper Han, Biggs, Wedge are going to be super fast anyways, and your turn battles won't really last long enough for him to use his smoke screen more than once. So again, it's up to you. And so along with Stormtrooper Han, Wedge, Biggs, and R2-D2, you would fill in that 5th one as the Hoth Rebel Scout or Hoth Rebel Soldier when needed, because those first 4 could get through the first 6 waves in phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, and probably 5 or 6 waves in phase 5. So that group would be strong on their own. Your second Rebel group that you could use, which will be incredibly powerful, I would say under a Lando Calrissian lead, to get that speed and crit damage up. And I would use under Lando your Baze Malbus and Chirrut Imwe. Obviously they won't be there for very long, and when you can't use Baze anymore, switch out possibly K2SO as your tank, or Old Ben as your tank. But Lando, Baze Malbus, and Chirrut, along with Ezra Bridger and Princess Leia. Okay, and the reason I recommend putting Ezra in this group is, 1, because he can be very fast, he is a very strong hitter, but also his targeted assist to pull in Princess Leia would be phenomenal. Okay, and if you do use Princess Leia, mod her the same as Ahsoka Tano, 1 crit chance set, 1 crit damage set, with as much speed secondaries as you can get on that set. And you obviously are an old hand with Lando. You know how to mod him probably better than I do. Baze Malbus, straight up defense and health. And Chirrut, probably a lot of defense and health. Not defense. Health and speed. Whichever you find works better. Possibly even crit chance, because I know he can be a super hard hitter. Ezra Bridger, you're also going to mod with 1 crit chance set, 1 crit damage set. He does have a lot of utility to bring. And so those are the 5 that I would put there. And like I said, when you can't use Baze Malbus, throw in Old Ben. And if you don't want to use Ezra Bridger in that group, Luke Skywalker would be a good one to sub in. You might be tempted to use Admiral Akbar, but he just doesn't bring a lot to the table. And Ezra is a damage dealer, so you need another damage dealer to sub in, i.e. Farm Boy Luke. So that is your second Rebel group that I'd recommend. A Lando Calrissian lead with Baze Malbus, Princess Leia, Ezra Bridger, and Chirrut Imwe. And when you get to the point you can't use Baze, throw in Old Ben. And if you can't use Ezra for some reason, throw in Luke Skywalker Farm Boy. They would be a fairly decent group for you to use there. Now, I see your Phoenix squad. I see some Ezra Bridger, Chopper, Zeb, Kanan Jarrus, Harrison Dula. Those 5, you could get 6 out of 6. So there's really no need to continue to gear them unless you want to use them for other stuff. But there isn't a need as long as you, especially when you want to bring your Jedi up, because they're much closer to being a powerful group than your Phoenix squad is. And your Rogue One characters, I see Baze Malbus, obviously your highest geared, but until he gets to be 7 stars, you can't necessarily use him in that particular territory battle. So you're left with K2SO as your tank. I see a Chirrut Imwe, also gear 8s, Cassian Andor. This is a great one, Jyn Erso. So K2SO, Chirrut, Cassian, and Jyn. Oh, and look, your Bodhi is 7 star. So maybe throw some gear on him. I am convinced that Bodhi Rook will actually be a very strong character in territory battles because of his intercept communications. I believe at its highest level it only has a cooldown of 4, and it will be basically removing 16% turn meter from all enemies and giving everybody 16% turn meter. So he will be a great person to have in this group and have him be super fast. And as long as offense up is being applied to your guys, getting that 30% defense is pretty phenomenal as well. And here his other special, Spotter, provides turn meter to rebel allies and inflicting evasion down. Not a super big deal, but I really think that Bodhi Rook will be a strong character to have in this Rogue One group. So I'd really start throwing some gear on him to use along with K2SO, Chirrut Imwe, Cassian Andor, and Jyn Erso. So there's the Rogue One group that I would use. Now, and looking at other possible light side squads, I did look at your clone troopers, who need a lot of love to be really good in turn battle, and they're just such an intense gear grind that you're better off putting your energy somewhere else. Ewoks, knowing that you don't spend a ton of money, your Paploo, Logray, and Wicket are not very high in the stars, so kind of pointless to use them without those 3 that really make the Ewoks special. I also checked out your Jawas. Again, not really much of anything here to go on. Jawa would be a pretty easy one to grind up to 7 star, but the group is just not strong enough right now. Your Resistance, again, Finn is super necessary in a great Resistance squad. He's only 5 star, so that kind of rules the Resistance out as a strong group for you. So really you're left with just Rebels and Jedi, which, I said, I gave you my opinion on 2 strong Rebel teams and your 1 strong Jedi team. So my suggestion would be to work on those guys, like I said, either Ahsoka Tano or Aayla Secura, Grandmaster Yoda, and in the Rebel group, I would recommend obviously the Hoth brothers, Captain Solo, Princess Leia, Ezra Bridger, and then your Rogue One tunes, K2SO, Chirrut Imwe, Cassian Andor, Jyn Erso, and Bodhi Rook. Not having used them very often, and not being able to go into too much detail right now, I'm not entirely sure the best way to mod them, though just kind of off the top of my head, I would imagine K2SO, you want as much health and protection as you can get. Cassian Andor needs a ton of potency. Jyn Erso and Bodhi Rook, I'd recommend getting as fast as you can. But beyond that, really whatever you have left to put on them. So, hopefully that is helpful to you, Mr. Berniewan Kensanders. Then you can continue to be just the beast that you are in territory battles and help carry Legacy and give them the strategy they need to further their ambitions in territory battles. So, again, hopefully this helped you, Bernie. That second opinion sometimes helps really just confirm what you're already thinking, or maybe provides another possible idea, whichever works for you. I will not be offended if you don't take my opinion, don't take my advice. It's totally up to you. And until next time, Chaos, this is Kalatos saying goodbye and good luck in your upcoming raids and territory battles.